Hello everyone! Today I'm going to take a look at the Yūdachi, an upcoming Tier 7 premium Japanese destroyer. Now this ship is currently in testing and all stats are subject to change. So personally I think the ship isn't quite there yet, but that's pretty common early in testing, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Now the Yūdachi is a Shiratsuyu class destroyer, and it's in many ways pretty similar to a Shiratsuyu. There are some minor differences, like it has 100 meter better concealment, which is nice to have, but doesn't have a huge impact on the actual gameplay. What does have an impact though is the torpedoes and the guns. Now technically you have the same guns as the Shiratsuyu, but with a worse reload. So you have a 9-second reload instead of 7.5. And that's pretty noticeable. And it's not like the Shiratsuyu is a gunboat, but with the Yūdachi, if you are in a duel with another destroyer, if you're forced to use those guns, and I mean there are certain situations where you also want to use those guns, it's a bit painful. But the main feature are certainly the torpedoes, so maybe we should talk about them a little bit. Now this ship comes with 15 kilometer torpedoes. Sounds pretty insane for a T7, right? Well, there are two problems. Well, the major problem is those torps are spotted from 2.5 kilometers away. Shiratsuyu torps are spotted from 1.6 kilometers away. You already see there is 900 meters further away that those torps are spotted, and that means the enemy has so much more time to react and dodge. Then there is also the speed. Yūdachi torps do 57 knots, Shiratsuyu torps do 62 knots. So your torps are slower and spotted farther away. Now you can compensate for the speed by picking torpedo acceleration, which is what I have done and which is what I'd recommend currently in this form of the ship. Now with torpedo acceleration you have the same speed as the Shiratsuyu, and it reduces your range from 15 to 12 kilometers, which isn't a big deal because I consider 12 kilometers the torpedo sweet spot. Well, I guess let's talk about torpedo ranges in general for a little minute. So I personally love Japanese destroyers. I'm loving my Shimakase, I'm playing her a lot, I'm very objective oriented, and I'm fairly successful even in today's metagame. Now it's become rather stressful playing a destroyer these days and going for caps because there is so much you have to pay attention for, there is so much radar around, and then there is the carriers. And well, also little side note, when you look at the Yamagi here currently, now this Yamagi might see the torps coming, but he was caught reversing and he can't stop and go forward again fast enough to dodge those, so even with easily spotted torps you will get your share of hits. But yeah, back to torpedo range in general, right? So having more torpedo range, even if you are applying it for objectives, even if you're going to spot for your team, even if you're at the front line, range has become so much more valuable these days because it allows you to be effective while staying outside of dangerous raiders, while not having to push into radar range to actually get a torp salvo off. And this makes gameplay much more comfortable, in my opinion. So right now I would say for a tier 8 and above battle, 10 km is the absolute bare minimum for a playable torpedo boat. And 12 kilometers is basically ideal, and anything above 12 is nice to have. So yeah, I personally have hopes for the Yūdachi, because honestly I feel like with the 12 kilometers that I'm sailing around here, it's rather nice, it's rather comfortable gameplay, it's just that it's rather inconsistent with how easy those torps are to dodge. I mean, torpedo boats in general are inconsistent anyway, but I feel like the torps need a little bit more help. So yeah, also this ship does not have a torpedo reload booster. Now some people will certainly be outraged about that. I'm not one of them. If you have 15 kilometer torps, I don't think torpedo reload booster is a good combination with that, because we all know that there are so many people who want to just stay in the back line, torpedo the enemies from way too far away to get hits, and half of the time hit your allies. We've all seen how people use their Asashios, and I feel like a lot of people just can't be trusted with, well, in my opinion, with that much range, because it's like if people see a long range, I feel like, hey, it's probably good gameplay if I stay at long range and stay rather safe, and they don't consider how ineffective they are. They just consider their own safety, but they don't consider that maybe their effectiveness suffers also. And well, at least with smoke, maybe it encourages a few people to go a little bit closer, and it will prevent a lot of long-range torpedo soup, which is one of the reasons I think those torps are so easily spotted. Because the developers still remember the old Shimakaze days. And those were not necessarily fun days. So yeah, overall I feel like I'd like to see the concealment of these torpedoes be improved if those torpedoes were spotted at, let's say, 2 kilometers. And then maybe give a slight buff to those guns. I mean, they don't have to be the same as the Shiratsuyu, but give the guns half a second better reload. Give the torpedoes a concealment of 2 kilometers. And then test again and see what happens. Because I feel like there is a lot of potential for this ship. I think it could end up being a fun little tier 7 destroyer. But it just needs a little bit more tweaking. Now here in this clip I'm... well, pretty brave against, let's call it this, or suicidal. There is a destroyer inside this smoke screen, and I'm going to find him here momentarily. And, well, I'll once again demonstrate just how atrocious those guns are. But, I mean, it's an Akizuki. I was expected to get farmed here in any way. I could have maybe escaped here, but I'm just going to go for my torps here. Also demonstrating that if the enemy is just close enough, they might not be able to dodge regardless. But that's not all why this clip is here. This clip demonstrates something that, well, if you've played this game for a while, you are aware of. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves that even easily spotted torpedoes will find their mark. Now this torpedo, this lone survivor of this salvo, was spotted the moment it was launched. See that Monarch there? That was about 8 kilometers away. So there is an 8 kilometer distance this torpedo has to travel to actually hit the Monarch. It's only one torpedo, it's the easiest thing in the world to dodge. But you know what? People don't necessarily pay attention to what's going on around them. So yeah, and with this I'm going to end this. I feel like the Yūdachi has a lot of potential, it's not quite there yet. And we will see what Wargaming does with it. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.